Alright, so let's talk about hooking wings. So this technique is against a low two-hand push. You have an opponent in front of you. Your arms are above your opponent's arms. And as he pushes with both of his arms to your stomach, or it's a low push, right? You're going to use two hooks in the shape of a crane on top of his arms to basically pull him in somewhat, and then you're going to execute a right snapping ball kick to his groin. Okay? Now there are already three errors that commonly happen right here on this first move. The first mistake that people make is not realizing that you would only use this if your arms were on top of your opponent's arms. Right? If your opponent has his arms above yours, then you would not use this. You can't do it fast enough, and it would really violate the concept of point of origin. Right? The second mistake that commonly happens on this first move of hooking wings is that people are trying to separate the arms outward, and then that can cause your opponent to be able to follow up with something else. In other words, you are creating an orbit that can reorbit towards yourself. He can use this against you because you're pushing his arms out. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. So, and the third mistake, which actually also is a remedy for the second mistake, is that people fail to use that frictional pull. You're trying to pull the person in more so that way you can kick him harder, right? It's a frictional pull, but you are using the concept of borrowing force. We borrow force. That means we try to hit even harder by making the person walk right into it, so to speak. All right? Now, once we execute this snapping ball kick, we're going to plant forward and we're going to do an inward hammer fist followed with an outward back knuckle. But they are unique strikes. And we got to look at the first one, which is actually a looping inward downward diagonal hammer fist. A looping inward downward diagonal hammer fist. Now the reason why it is looping is because of the position of your arm. You are palm out, your elbow is up high. You've just finished that frictional pull on top of your opponent's arms. And because of your position with your elbow up high and your forearm up high, you're going to be able to get incredible speed and incredible power by looping your arm forward so quickly that you're able to do a hammer fist that is faster than a regular hammer fist. And it's not just that hammer fist that does this. It is also the next strike, the back knuckle, is a looping back knuckle. That's why Mr. Parker wrote it like that in the journals. Alright? Both of those strikes are looping strikes. The back knuckle isn't a regular horizontal back knuckle. No. The starting position is different. That's why it's a looping back knuckle. Once you've executed the strike prior to that, the hammer fist, your elbow is now down and it's low. And from this low position, usually you wouldn't do a back knuckle, but you can do a looping back knuckle. It pivots. And because of that pivoting position with your elbow low, it's a very fast strike, and it can really hit you pretty quick. So for the sake of speed and power, both of those strikes are looping strikes. And they will have plenty of power, as you can see. And they're faster. You don't need so much travel, especially if you look at the back knuckle. Look from how close we are hitting. We are like 10 inches or less away from the person's face already. And the benefit of this is, just like always, highest probability of success. In other words, how is he going to block this? His arm is not even anywhere close to being able to block this. And our circle is small enough that he can never get his arm in there. All right? So now, as always, the ending of the strike, the actual contact point of your strike, is also the starting position of your next strike. That is what makes Kenpo so unique. Right? So we just did the back knuckle to our opponent's face, and that means our elbow is now in position to strike him next. Either to the chin or the collarbone, whatever you can. But the point is that your elbow is in such a great spot to now strike that that's what we're going to do. Same reason as always. The point of origin, I'm already there with my elbow. Path of least resistance, he cannot get his block in there anyway. It's too close and his arms are in a different place. Right? Backup mass. I'm able to do this with nice alignment, and in this case, I'm even going to shuffle in. Right? We're a little far away for an elbow possibly, so we're going to move forward and get even more power out of that one. Right? And once we do this elbow strike, we are now able to do a heel palm claw to the bridge of the nose or whatever is available. Right? But the point is, why are we doing the heel palm claw? Same reason as always. Point of origin. If my hand is already way up here, well, obviously I'm going to be able to strike with that. It's poised to strike forward with that, right? The target is right there. Again, he can't really block it. His arms are not in position, right? And it has an incredible amount of power from that position. I can drop my weight. I have backup mass. I have alignment. So that's a typical Kenpo move. Okay? Now, once we do that, and we have our hand in our opponent's face, we're now going to do a very similar thing with our feet. We're going to, again, move from point of origin to the closest possible target in a way that he simply cannot block it. All right? And that means, in this case, we're going to move our back foot up a little bit so we get closer. And then we are going to do a hook kick to the inside of his leg. And the reason why we do that is because our foot is already in perfect position to do it. Right? And once we do that, we're not going to retract. We're going to use that ending position of that hook kick, and it now is the starting position for a roundhouse kick. So that way we can do 2 kicks to his leg, or 1 kick could be to the leg, 1 could be to the body. It doesn't matter. We can do 2 kicks so quickly that, again, he really can't do anything about it. And again, we have backup mass, we have alignment, we have everything we need in order to make this a very powerful strike. Now, once we do the second kick, especially if we go by the book and we kick the outside of his leg, like the outside of his knee, he is going to be turning clockwise, probably bending forward at the waist too, because his knee got kicked out. Well, that means now if we do a vertical hook, a hooking heel kick, we can again borrow force. He's coming right into it. He's moving towards our foot, so this is another very forceful strike. We finished our roundhouse kick. We planted our foot down right where we started, basically. And because our opponent is moving his face right down in that direction, we're now going to hook as we go into the next movement right here. And once we do that, we can now reverse that motion, and we can extend our right leg again. That's why we're bouncing off the ground, and that's why Mr. Parker wrote it like that. In the first 3 kicks, you didn't have to bounce off the ground because you were just using the reverse of every motion. But now you're doing the hook, and you have to stop, reverse, and come back. That's why it's bouncing off the ground. So you can change direction. You can change from going forward, stop your motion, and reverse it. Go back again. Right? Now, the last kick actually is a stiff leg kick to the groin if your opponent is positioned for that. It could be a back heel kick too. But don't forget that when you did that hook to his jaw just before, you probably turned your opponent towards you. So that stiff leg kick to the groin will probably work just fine. And at the same time, you're going to do a heel palm claw to the face, a lifting claw, because it's there, right? I mean, it would be a waste not to use it, even though the kick is probably your main strike right there. Right? You are closer to him, but you can still strike him with full force.